Hello, everyone, and welcome to Deconstructor of Funds This Week in Games number 318, where we give you all of our game industry insider takes on what news is going on each week. I am Jen Donahoe back. Chris, nice job moderating. I'm very proud of you. So I fill the marketing and publishing role on this lovely podcast, and today we have
Philip Black, Monetization's are.
Eric Kress, screaming at the clouds, and at Matthew Ball.
Mishka Katkov, the founder whisperer over here.
That's awesome. Here's what we got going on today. Battle of the Game Industry Reports. It was a very low-key PlayStation State of Play, so not much to cover there, but we'll give you the news. Leadership changes at Minecraft Studio. Phil's going to give us the insider take because, they are in Sweden. We have a supersized episode on Supercell. Ilka has a new letter, and oh my god, this is going to be the entire episode, so a lot to go there. Unity loses some more people, while AppLovin gains stock value, and they're selling off their game division, so we're going to play Who's Buying AppLovin's Game Studios. That'll be pretty fun. And then Overwatch. Overwatch has a lot of new news. Is it Overwatch 3 or is it new modes? Phil has a lot of takes on that.
Game devs. Here at Heroic Labs, we know that great gameplay is what players love, but integrating metagame features like challenges, progression, and rewards is crucial for retention and monetization. But coding them is a tedious and time-consuming process. That's why top studios have turned to Hero from Heroic Labs. Hero provides a complete suite of battle-tested metagame features that are quick to implement, letting you spend more time on the core gameplay experience. Ready to ship fully featured engaging games? Check out Hero today at heroiclabs.com.
Attention app and game developers. Are you ready to unlock the secrets behind the world's top-performing apps and games? With Sensor Tower, you get the ultimate competitive edge, whether it's breaking into new markets, fine-tuning your UA strategies, or boosting monetization. Dive into data like never before. Track global trends across app stores. Analyze market-leading in-app purchase and in-app ad strategies. And benchmark your performance with real-time insight. The best part, Sensor Tower doesn't just deliver data. It helps you turn it into action. With intuitive tools and expert analysis, it's everything you need to make smarter, faster decisions. Thousands of app and game studios, from indie creators to global giants, trust Sensor Tower to help them win. So why not you? Start your free trial today at sensortower.com. That is sensortower.com.
All right, let's just get right to shilling. First, I just want to say I had my semi-annual USC guest Yoda lecture with Ed Zobrist's class. Thanks to Ed and Coleman for always having me. UCLA is up next. Cress, the San Jose team is looking for you. So let's continue our university. I can't believe they want us to talk to them, but fine. Next up for me was the LA Supper Club was last week. A huge success. Special thanks to Addictive for hosting and Grace Yo, honorary Deconstructor of Fun LA event czar. So she was amazing. Like all of the big company UA folks were there. So a lot of great takes. I will tell you offline of all of the news because I promised them all.
Photos?
It was off the record.
Are there any photos? No?
There are photos.
Yes.
Grace took photos.
All right, I'll ping Grace.
For sure. But if anyone else wants to sponsor a supper club in LA, happy to do that now that I have a tag team partner. And I know, Crush, you would love to do that in San Francisco. So, Mishka, you would just love to attend. Well, actually,
I don't mind attending. Not at all. Right. Organizing. No.
Everyone needs a Grace is all I have to say. She did all of the heavy lifting. I did a little help in trying to pull people in and who we should have. It was a very UA focused event. And so next one, I would love to open it up outside of that specific discipline. But Mishka, what do we have going on with the blog and everything else?
Yeah, so we got a supersized shilling portion because you guys didn't shill at all last week. So let's shill the blog stuff. We had Dylan Tredre wrote How Drama and Fake Ads Convert to Real Profits, an interesting post. Got already Wooga people commenting on it. We got the week before was How Some Puzzle Games Are More Addicting Than Others. This is kind of going through different core game designs of puzzles. This was written by Amit Khan, who's been writing a lot of puzzle articles. On the podcast side, we got a bunch of stuff. So we had the Ultra Positive Gaming Market Report with Sensor Tower. I recorded that one, and everything that I kind of thought was negative, he always found a positive take. He's like, the market didn't really decline 4%. It's actually growing and so forth. So I thought that was great. Finally, something, positive takes. No?
It was irritating. It's just irritating.
Okay. Chris is like positivity.
By the way, the market's up like double digits in the West. I can't believe that this is not being more well covered. Like, this is absolutely massive for our publishers. Now, it's being driven by big games, but it's literally up double digits. Like, there's an opportunity here in the West, even though with Europe falling apart.
So I'm here in Spain. Europe is not falling apart. The sun is shining. The sangria is flowing. So everything is fine. But yeah, so a positive market report, and he broke it really nicely. Like, sometimes he was saying like Japan and China is kind of drawing everybody down. But anyway, listen to it, episode 269. We also had a podcast with Wilfred Obeng. Wilfred is the CTO and co-founder of AudioMob. So this was one of the episodes that we recorded during my visit to Abu Dhabi for Google Move event. There's going to be a couple of other episodes from that visit that we recorded on site. There's gaming companies over there, and it was kind of interesting to talk to them. Wilfred is talking about how to scale their $100 million startup. So that was their valuation at the last raise, and why he chose specifically Abu Dhabi over Silicon Valley. But there's other different topics that he covers in that podcast. So give it a listen. But Jen, GDC events, we have a long list.
Oh boy. So this year is going to be even bigger than last year. So first of all, just subscribe to the newsletter. Go to deconstructorofun.com. All of the links will be in there. We'll also try to post them in the Slack channel and the events channel. But just so you know, many of the events have limited availability. We will try to get as many people in as we can, but it is what it is. All right. Sunday, the pregame with Beta Hat. We are over 300 people that have requested to attend. Just show up, and, you may or may not get a drink badge or free drinks, but, come join us on that. Monday is a Sensor Tower Deconstructor Fund VIP dinner. Tuesday is the GDC Executive Brunch for Studios with Convoy and Heroic Labs. I think that's more for the tech nerds, which is awesome. I love you all. So do that one. Wednesday, Product Brunch.
This is a new one. So this just came in right now. So we are hosting another brunch at the same time. So we just like last time, we did one marketing product brunch, and then we did tech brunch. So this time around, I found new partners to support the product brunch. And this is going to be a lot about live ops. So you might see Philip Black over at that brunch. We have all kinds of interesting studios coming in talking about live ops, but mainly for product people. So come enjoy brunch and talk to other product people in the business.
Right. Cool. So Wednesday night is a supper club sponsored by Newzoo, TikTok, AppsFlyer, and Griffin. Could you get any more sponsors for that?
At the W, it's an expensive space. So, and we had a lot of people wanting to sponsor that. So we ended up taking a lot.
That's awesome. Yeah. Thursday, I am super excited about this one. It's a live TWIG GC. I got to work on my branding for this. TWIG GDC, TWIG DC. So at GDC nights at 7 p.m., come in person and watch us do a live recording of what we thought happened at GDC. So you just need a badge and the GDC nights pass for that, and a couple other things in the works that we'll talk about next time. All right, Cress, we have gone on too long. It is time for you to make your laundry. This is a new segment. I just love this. Like, you get shit on for what you say, and then you come back and just do a recap of each week's episode. I love it.
I'm definitely working with incomplete information. So I did get some updates on what we were talking about last week, particularly about Dream. Okay, the feedback here is that it is indeed the founders did not want to sell. Like that is like evidently what's happening out there, right? So of course the venture capitalists are fucking dying for liquidity, right? Because they've made all these stupid fucking investments for the last 5 years. So they really wanted to get out. So actually Goldman did the right thing for once in their goddamn lives. Okay, so this is not atone for all of Goldman's sins, right? Because they are actually responsible for some of the worst acquisitions in the video game business, including Zynga, Glue, and Activision. But back to Dream, basically, through this equity raise, they wanted to create liquidity for their venture capitalists, and they also wanted to maintain ownership for the existing leadership team. And so this actually kind of makes everyone happy to some degree, right? So they maintain 70% control at the ownership level. They sell, some of the insiders or the employees get to sell shares in the secondaries. Investors get their money back, and then these debt holders get some cash flow from the cash flows of the business, right? So interest from the cash flows. So I think it's a win-win-win-win, right? Capitalism at its finest, I would say. I do think this still sets them up poorly for an exit going forward, but evidently that is not their objective from the founder perspective. I don't think doing these type of big deals really help with long-term liquidity, right? A $5 billion valuation. I mean, none of these, it's going to be really, really hard to sell a mobile game company for that kind of value, no matter how strong it is, because there's just no buyers anymore, right? But but that's not their goal. It's like Playrix, right? They're going to use it as a piggy bank, right? Like just cash flow, pay me out. That's all the money you need. And then they maintain ownership and have something to do, right?
Yeah.
It's just a different way of looking at it from a founder perspective.
Yeah, Chris really nailed it by using Playrix as an example, because that has become a sort of a gold standard for founders. It's like, keep it private, don't have any, assholes on the board, do what you love to do, have a strong meaning for yourself, like run this company and get tons of dividends. Like these people are billionaires already without having to sell this company. And like my hypothesis as quote unquote hot founder whisperer is it really takes a certain type of a person to create $1 billion company. And for that person to sell that $1 billion company and to do what? Like now that person is ultra rich. They're not the type of people to just fuck off. They need to be building, they need to be doing something. So having talked to a bunch of successful founders, of course, there's plenty of those who are very happy having sold their companies, but there's equal amount of founders who are not that happy having sold their very successful companies, and they're kind of looking for the next thing. And all of them are saying the Playrix did it right. Just keep it to yourself, keep running it, keep taking dividends, do your own thing, don't sell.
How much money do you need, dude?
Yeah.
Do you be a couple $100 million, billion? No, I mean, come on.
And
It's fucking, yeah.
Exactly. How much life changes from 10 to 20?
The next thing is the Battlefield thing. So the general consensus from people that are really kind of smart about this stuff is that there is a subset of shooter fans that are really interested in what Battlefield offers, like open world, like large scale battles, objective-based combat type games, right? So there is a huge solid audience of that. Both Lucas Maddox was someone that was kind of waxing poetic about this stuff, but I think he kind of misunderstood what I'm saying. These hot takes on TikTok are dangerous, right? Because not only do you lose the context from the podcast, but you actually lose context by putting it in such a small way. There's even more context that is lost, right? What I was trying to say is that how many ways can you actually cut the baby, or whatever that expression is, right? There's so many different types of shooters that it's taking audiences away from different shooters. That's what was kind of my point about that, right? When you segment something to death, like it just makes it so that it's just harder to attract a large enough audience to actually create a great business. That was kind of my whole point about whether or not people want a shooter like Battlefield right now with so many different competitors and so many different niches. All right, that was what I was trying to say anyway. But what he did say was that there is a big segment of the audience that likes these type of games, that if they have a good one, which is like the big question, but I think they should make a really high quality one, there should be some performance for it. The only pushback I would give him is Delta Force, which basically copied fucking Battlefield 1 for 1 in terms of features and things, but they only have like 100,000 people on Steam. It's like, I don't know, that's not good enough, right, for something like Battlefield. But I came away a little bit more incrementally more bullish after the feedback I got from it. So I will remain skeptical though until the quality is confirmed, because that has been EA's, Achilles heel, is actually building something, creating something, and launching something of high quality. So we'll see.
Okay. All right. So we're going to get into our first topic on the market, Cress, which is you, and going over this report.
Yeah, I want to just give a shout out to Reese Elliott, who used to work at Newzoo. He was there for a long time. I think he joined Media Research, and they basically created a market summary very similar to what Matthew Bald is. But the difference is that Reese has been doing this for a while, and he kind of knows the market and can connect the dots a little bit better, but kind of coming to the same similar conclusions. The market is very mature. There's oversaturation of live services. The global number of gamers are growing, but the revenue per user is actually coming down because of quality of users that we're getting in third world countries. The mega budget strategy will slow down. And then also that multi-game subscription user growth is reaching its maturity as well. So anyway, these guys did a good job of consolidating, a great report on the industry. And then also they're working on forecasting the industry as well, which I got a copy of their model and it looks pretty good. And they're still working on that. So Media Research, Mr. Reese Elliott, who's a little grouchy, I'll be honest. When I say grouchy, someone's grouchy, they're fucking grouchy, right? But other than that, like smart guy.
And media, but MIDIA, right? It's kind of like, yeah.
Yes.
Media. Yeah, that didn't help with the spelling. All right. So the next thing just to touch on really quick was PlayStation had the State of Play this week. It was a bit focused on their smaller games, so nothing Assassin's Creed. Just a couple big takeaways were Borderlands has a new trailer and a release date, which is in September. And then Metal Gear Solid has, I'm not a fan of the franchise. It's not been my thing, but Snake Eater. So apparently this is a big thing. That's also coming out in August. And then for me, a little retro was Shinobi being done by the Streets of Rage 4 devs. So it really just brings back the warm fuzzies from back in the day. All right. So I wanted your feedback, especially, the Swedes over there. So Microsoft just made an announcement, and it was really interesting that Variety broke the story. I mean, maybe it's not surprising because it's Microsoft and there's a Minecraft movie coming. So Microsoft's gaming Kayleen Walters has been promoted to head the company's Stockholm-based Minecraft maker Mojang Studios as the current chief, Asa Bredin, exits. So here's the part that I thought was really interesting and I wanted to discuss. And this has nothing to do with the fact that, she's a woman, which normally I'm like, I want to promote that. So Walters is currently the vice president and the head of franchise development. And she's going to add studio lead to her title. So now she has 2 jobs. She's going to be based in Seattle and Redmond and then travel between Redmond and Stockholm frequently. And before becoming the head of franchise at Microsoft, Walters led brand entertainment at Minecraft and then was at Lucasfilm for 13 years, where she rose to vice president of franchise marketing and integrated planning. So a non-dev, a non-Swede with 2 jobs, a major movie coming out. How is this good for the studio? It seems like this is a lot for any human being. I don't know. It feels like we're setting her up for failure. Swedes, feedback.
I mean, that's a very Eric take. I felt like this was the rant when they hired like the Call of Duty esports GM or something. Oh, that's an unforgettable rant.
Well, no, that was a fair. I mean, that was
which one was
Johanna.
it?
No, it was Johanna, who's now the president of Blizzard.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah. Still underqualified. At least this woman has a good experience that knows what the fuck she's doing, managing brands like big brands like that. So, I mean, she's not a fucking Coca-Cola executive like running fucking Web3. Yeah, I mean, what the fuck? I mean, those people drive me insane. But at least this girl's got some credibility.
Woman.
It's sad not to have them in Sweden. I think that's sad for the country. I think just after having this, basically having Battlefield ripped from DICE, this is not good news bears. Like once you get off the 2-a-day FICA schedule and, the internationals are making up more than 50% of the studio, like these are distinctly Swedish products. Like I will say that having lived here, I think Mirror's Edge is actually probably the most distinctly Swedish product I've ever played, but I think Battlefield, Battlefront, and Minecraft definitely are too. Why you look confused, Eric? Why is that weird to you?
I have no idea why you would say that they're uniquely Swedish in terms of product. The majority of people that play that game are US, or particularly that spend on the game are in the US. Right?
I mean, that's certainly true, but H&M is a Swedish company, and a lot of people, there's a lot of revenue that comes from globally. What does that change? You can still be something distinctly Swedish and export. I mean, ABBA is listened by millions of people. That's still a distinctly Swedish band.
Okay.
I don't know.
You're not comparing. Like you can sell, you can export a culture, Eric. It's
ABBA was from the 70s, dude. Why is that the only reference that you could come from pop culture from Sweden is ABBA, dude?
We have many distinct
Your argument
flags.
makes no sense. It is a U.S. product, basically, and it just happens to be developed in Sweden, right?
I don't think that's true at all. I don't think that's true at all.
I'm half joking. This seems like Microsoft is trying to get control from Redmond for their fucking empire, right? And so they're putting people in charge of Redmond that are going to be managing remotely. And I kind of agree with you. That kind of sucks for them. as a remote studio to lose their independence. But this is like the powers that be at Microsoft trying to maintain some type of illusion of control, because you can't control the Swedes, right? As you know, Mr. Black, because you married one, right?
No.
So
Absolutely.
She's Canadian.
No, she's Canadian.
oh, that's right. That's right.
Close
You're
enough.
the Swede.
I'm Swedish free.
Okay, close enough.
The cats are as close as I come.
The challenge that's going to come from here is probably people working at Minecraft Sweden will be complaining a lot, because it is a very much a work-life type of a culture, Phil knows. And when you have to do calls with the US, especially West Coast, that means very, very late, and you're intruding on the Swedish free time, and that will cause a lot of grift, and that will cause issues. And of course, I believe that this lady will be traveling a lot, and those flights are brutal. I don't think there's a direct flight from Seattle to Stockholm. I think you need to hop over to somewhere. So it's going to be pretty tiresome.
Yeah.
Can I make another like really, really unpopular hot take for this? Is that perhaps
Please don't let us stop you.
perhaps they are looking at Epic and they are looking at Roblox and saying, you know, what exactly are you guys doing with this absolutely massive franchise, Minecraft? Why isn't it monetizing better? Why aren't we doing more metaverse type shit, right? Like maybe it is time for a change. Maybe the Swedes have just kind of lost their edge.
You remember Minecraft, the location, the Pokemon Go version of Minecraft? I mean, they've tried various different things. Like it's not like
that though. UGC. I'm with Crest that I do think that there is a missed opportunity with UGC, but I'm not sure, this is the right kind of profile to blow that out. I think she's trying to do transmedia stuff, which Crest is your favorite topic.
No, that was actually my
Let's
first.
talk about the Minecraft movie.
Well, that's and she, I believe that's under her purview, and the idea now is you just put in Jason Momoa to anything. It's like he's like the old school Jack Black. You just put him into anything, and they think it's magic. I don't know.
Momoa.
But anyway, all right. So that was just my musings on. And I guess watch out, guys. I'm going to be running a studio. Next thing you know, let the marketers rule it all.
Yeah, in Romania.
All right, Mishka, I'm going to hand it over to you for your extra long supersized Supercell segment. Go.
Well, this is not mine. This is extra long.
Yes, it is.
Email letter from the CEO. But yeah, so in short, Supercell had a record year, and I think everybody is happy because of that. I mean, Supercell is probably the most beloved company in gaming. I would say on par with Nintendo. So this is from their annual blog post, and personally, I think it's a gold standard for industry PR. So the headline is, of course, is that Supercell broke all the records. So 2024, I'm going to quote Ilka, was the best year for Supercell ever. Among other things, our live games hit 300 million monthly active players worldwide for the first time since 2014. All the games grew in revenue compared to the previous year. Also, we had record year in terms of gross revenue. So pretty amazing. Hit all the records and all the numbers. So in terms of the numbers, revenue, 2.8 billion euros, which means 77% growth year over year. EBITDA grew 78% year over year to 876 million euros, which is probably close to $1 billion. And this is super impressive because the market has been struggling as a whole. And especially if you look at their last year's shareholder letter blog post, Ilka was talking about how Supercell struggled to grow its live games, and it caused actually Supercell to drop from being the first global mobile game publisher in 2016 and falling outside the top 10 in 2023. And that was kind of like a big wake-up call. So now they're back in the top charts and just killing it. So what drove the growth is they increased the live ops team sizes. They made huge investments into marketing. That kind of takes away the story, which was in previous, that 70% of their players are coming from organic sources. So no more flexing of that. And I found this really the brilliance of the PR, because it's in a way an Apple level. Like they're communicating like, look, we grew by increasing the team size, being able to produce more content, and by working with brands and marketing more. And of course, everybody in the game industry knows this is how it goes. Like you invest into marketing, you invest into the teams, you create more content that people like, and that's how you grow your games. But when Supercell says it, it's almost like Apple says, like, we put in like camera into a phone, and now it's a camera phone. It's like Samsung is like, what are you talking about? We've been doing that for years. And so this is the same kind of a communication.
Well, hold on. Are we going to actually talk about these numbers? I don't know, Eric.
Yeah.
Chris, I'm trying to get you weighed in. I mean, they have to report to the Finnish government, though.
Yes.
They have to at least
Right.
report high-level metrics so we know what their revenue and EBITDA is. And their EBITDA looked a lot more sobering than their revenue.
Yeah.
So costs are way up, which I assume is part of the expansion. And I would also assume is Brawl Stars marketing, which we don't know a lot about except from what you just mentioned, Mishka.
Yeah, the marketing costs
I don't know, this
are way up.
Should I be less impressed by this, Eric?
Well, the Brawl Stars actually looks really bad. More now that I look at it from the perspective of like, they just spent a shit ton of money marketing this game to push downloads, which helped them in the short term, but the revenue's starting to trail off now. And that's Brawl Stars, which was like the most successful, which creates actually a really tough comp potentially for next year, right?
Do you
Overall.
want to say the line? Is Brawl Stars profitable? Do you want to? No? I was really trying to bait you into it.
That's
oh,
pretty
really?
funny.
No,
That's pretty funny.
I think Brawl Stars is very profitable. Don't get me wrong. But the fact is that they are basically finding new religion in terms of spending. I mean, they're spending like double in the last 2 years. So it's like, that is a lot of fucking money to be spending for them. And I think a lot of the upside is from what these charts look like, because this, again, the revenue is starting to decline pretty precipitously after they stop spending.
Don't forget that the Squad Busters launch budget is in this, so it's not all Brawl Stars.
No, yeah, and so that's the next thing. I just was trying to isolate Brawl
Helmsworth
Stars
out.
because
okay.
everyone
yeah.
keeps talking about how successful that game was in terms of like unlocking live ops, but I'm sure that was a part of it, but it also was a lot of money being spent on UA. That's kind of what I would say.
I think it's a combination. You know, they did all the live ops changes. They probably changed their monetization. Everyone moves the battle passes from multiple months to 1 month, you know, shortening that cycle. I think, Phil, that's a you-ism. And then clearly on the marketing side, Supercell is known for a brand. And they have slowly been shifting over time to up the UA, reduce the brand, except for the Squad Busters launch, which is a whole other topic. And you're starting to see, you know, a little bit more of the Scopely Monopoly Go playbook. You also are seeing the collaboration playbook. In our Slack, it was really funny. It's like, Michael Bolton and the Barbarian in Clash Royale they're doing a collaboration, which again, the collaborations, Golf Clap, Chef's Kiss are just brilliant, from, you know, the SpongeBobs to the Baby Sharks to the Michael Boltons. Like the humor, you know, it's very on brand for them. So anyway.
All right.
Pass it back to you.
And so moving on to Squad Busters, right? Clearly that title is not profitable, right? Like, I mean, absolutely. The amount of dollars that were spent to market this thing for just to peter out to basically nothing.
Well, what did you think about the clues that were given in the piece where they had Ano, who's the game lead, directly answer a question from Ilka that this has been asked many times with Inside of Supercell. Why did it launch? Why did it launch? Why did it launch? And it was very similar to what we suspected. They had a lot of really positive metrics from their over 120,000 player closed betas. Their partners at Apple and Google were very excited about the game. And of course, we know why that's important, because it suggests that you're going to secure featuring, which is something that we covered in Squad Busters 1 year later. It's been 5 years since they launched Brawl Stars. They wanted to get shit moving. They wanted to take a shot on goal. Like, this is a lot of what we wrote. They didn't want to be a company that got so set up with success that they don't risk failure. That was a recurring theme from the letter.
Yeah, I think it was brilliant how it was written in the blog post. They kind of like, they covered all these reasons why they launched, and there was a quote from Ana, who used to be the chief game design officer or something like that. I think he's now a game lead, but the quote was, "Soft launching the game globally and taking more time with it perhaps would have given us an indication of the true audience and what they want, or perhaps not. We will never know." And I'm looking at this graph. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Like, no, we know.
We know.
No.
Can we just say that, hey, we should have probably cooked it a little more? Like, there's no point in doing this company PR. And it was interesting to kind of see this. And I understand, because I was drinking the same Kool-Aid of launching this game. Like, I remember we did the podcast with Phil. Like, they had this long, dry season of not launching since 2018. And they had so much success with Brawl Stars, with just investing into updates and into brand and into live ops, that they're like, fuck it, let's go. Let's storm the beach. Biggest launch ever. This can't go wrong. And this kind of reminded me of Kim Nordstrom's book, Up, Down, Up, where he talked about hubris that companies have. And his quote is, the first clue that company has peaked, and of course Supercell hasn't peaked, often comes with hubris. There's a level of arrogance that comes with success, a feeling that you are invincible and that you can achieve anything you want. And I kind of felt the same way. Like I was thinking that they can't do anything. Like look at Brawl Stars, 6 years old and just crushing it. There's no way Squad Busters can't miss. And you know, apparently it can.
All right.
Can we just like leave the poor game alone?
Okay,
All right,
let's
I know, I'm kind of done.
Yeah.
I've been convinced by you, Mishka, over the years about like really starting to read this as a PR piece. And I was extremely disappointed in this year's letter. It felt defensive to talk about the future. I mean, it's all been about the next chapter, but 80% of the letter is about Brawl Stars, gloating, and defending Squad Busters' mistakes, which, first of all, they're entitled to do all of that.
Mhm.
Again, they don't notice anything. But, you know, you're a company that's about to IPO. And the only other thing that I think they really talked about in this letter is Spark. Their like team psychologist process, which I've been hearing some hilarious things about.
What's that?
It's Bootcamp.
Yeah.
It is Bootcamp. It's hard knocks for game development, I guess is one way to put it.
Yeah,
Interesting.
the Spark stuff is actually really fascinating. So Ilka makes this remark in the blog post kind of saying like, yeah, launching games is difficult as we've seen other companies struggle, kind of like, you know, balancing it off. And yes, we know that. And then he kind of doubles down on how important it is for a company to develop new games, unlike some other companies that just acquire games. Kind of like a little bit of a
sass
jab.
this year.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's got a little Zuck Riz,
It
you
was,
know?
It was
Getting
a-
coached by the same people.
It was a nice jab towards other companies for acquiring other studios and growing them. And so then he goes and talking about this Spark model, and he talks about the word startup, but this is not a startup. So essentially, the reason why they have a Spark Labs, you have to read between the lines. He says, there's a quote, Squad Busters development started in early 2020 based on a canceled project that started even earlier than that. So the reason why they're having Spark is because they're really slow at developing new games. It takes them years and years in order to get first signals from the market. So they break down, they're like, okay, let's fix how we make new games. We've separated them from live games. That was a major success. We have different teams running live games, different ones making new games. Okay, how do we make it faster? Let's bring in people into an incubator program. That's what Spark is. And I'm going to quote Ilka. He says, we use this time, Spark program, to evaluate the teams. And if we feel that the team is as good as the best teams in Supercell, we greenlight the team, not the game. So to me, as Phil said, this sounds like a really brutal recruitment process for folks coming in to build new games. Because reality is you kind of leave your job, for example, you join Spark Labs, you travel to Helsinki, and you start making games. And there's these prototypes, everything is coming, everything should be fluent. Yes, there's a psychologist to help you overcome the stress. You're getting this brutal feedback from everybody. But at the end of this experience, just like in Pop Stars and whatever talent show, what might happen is they would say, hey, Phil, you're not good enough. So here's your t-shirt, here's a plush toy, and good luck, sir. And that's it. And this is life. It's a rough school, the Spark Labs. It sounds fun, but it could be probably pretty soul crushing.
Like I said, this is a company that's about to IPO. They need to have their head in the game and focus on like the actual things that should be delivering results, which I would have loved to hear more about. Supercell Engine, where are you?
Mm-hmm.
It's supposed to be a huge advantage. North America. You know, is there a heartbeat out there? What's going on? Like, I don't know, Eric, Jen. Have you met someone from the studio? Like,
PC games.
What's going on?
PC game.
Where is North America? Investments? Has anyone heard anything about the investments?
That used to be a big thing. We had the news now that Space Ape became Supercell London, and both of the founders have left.
Yes, and new studios. I'm hearing this. Your Chrome Valley Customs getting spin off within their studio.
Yeah, so they're kicking off all the games, like the Beat Stars. So the music games goes with the next beat, and as you said, the puzzle games are getting spun off. So I'm kind of like interested of
Who's left?
What does Supercell London do? So essentially, it's a co-development studio for Helsinki, right? Because like they have been already working on Boom Beach. They're working on Heyday as an external pod. So it's like if you don't want to move to the cold north, you can work out of London.
Yeah, this is the only thing I wish we heard more about is things like, you know, what is the culture like? Like this is supposed to be the huge thing is that it's a Supercell and that now you're scaling. He hasn't once, to my knowledge, talked about what the strategy is to maintain what it means to be Supercell in the face of scaling. Like, that's the talk I want to hear. Like, I know he gave a talk earlier in the year, Ilko, where he mentioned that the company had been effectively split into two, live teams and then incubation teams or smaller teams. They aren't the first studio to do that. Like, I mean, that was something I heard at Scopely a lot. You know, it's not the first time I've heard this model. Okay, is this the model you're doing? Okay, what does it still mean to be Supercell in this model? I mean, again, they don't owe us anything, but I wish we got a little bit more this year than whatever this was. I don't know what this was.
I think the last part too that I find interesting, I just wanted to hear what's your opinion on it. Like, there's a couple of times that Ilka kind of brings forward the brand of a world's least powerful CEO, and it's a very humble thing to say. It's a great read, and it's a great way for him to move the spotlight away from him. Like, look, he runs a company that makes gazillion dollars. Like, it's one of the best companies ever, and he's like, it's not me, it's the team here. I get that. On the other hand, it creates this illusion that he has no input, because many times he's like, well, you know, I have no idea why we grew. I had no idea what we do. But then there's like other posts where like we as a management team got together and we decided to focus on Clash franchises and took away the resources from Brawl Stars, and then they grew because they had no pressure. So of course he makes a lot of decisions. Of course he manages this company and does it extremely well. But I'm just curious, like, how do you read this notion of world's least powerful CEO, like that type of branding?
Normal CEOs never even talk about themselves. So that's weird to begin with, right? Does Andrew Wilson or Strauss get up there and be like, let me talk about me and how I fit into this?
No, he's
weird.
selling a culture. He's selling a culture, though. That's not uncommon for
but-
those type of CEOs to talk like this.
But my problem with this whole narrative is that, like, look, metrics are metrics, right? He knows the metrics. Everyone knows the metrics. They saw what the beta looked like. They knew what they were heading into. This is not rocket science, right? It just wasn't ready. The game wasn't ready. And they have like perfect information, right? There's no like, yeah, he wants them to have independent and creative authority, et cetera, on their game. But metrics are metrics. They should have waited, but I don't know.
All right.
Yeah, and the marketing costs not mentioned in the blog post, but they were in the Finnish newspaper. That was interesting.
By the way, a super random thing to wrap this up about Zelnick. So my wife and I were at a comedy show. Sorry, I'm just completely changing the subject.
Yes, let's
I was
go.
at a comedy show, and this guy gets up. There's this Jewish guy, and he was hilarious. I thought he was actually a little anti-Semitic in some ways. I was a little offended by some of the things he said. And his last name is Zelnick, and I just didn't think about it. But he kept railing on his dad and how, like, he was a rich kid and he's like, he fucking hates it. His dad was never, like, just really being fucking mean about his dad, right? And then he spent like 20 minutes like roasting this private equity guy in the front, right? I mean, he was just ripping this guy to shreds, because if you didn't know, Zelnick was in private equity before. So you could feel the vitriol hate and like the animosity towards his father, like reflected in this like fucking rant against this guy. This poor Indian dude was just sitting there victimized, right? When you sit in the front row of a comedy show, fuck off, right? You're going to get it, right? Anyway, so after with the show, I looked it up and it's Zelnick's son, right? It's crazy, right? And I'm like, holy shit, this is actually fucking Zelnick's son that's up there doing comedy. And the guy's actually relatively famous. I'd never heard of him. And I know a lot of comics. So anyway, that was just a by and by. All right, moving on.
Yes.
Step into the future of game monetization with Xsolla, the premier partner for game developers seeking to expand their reach and revenue. Xsolla provides a robust suite of tools designed to enhance user acquisition, manage subscriptions, and streamline payment solutions worldwide. Unlock new markets and maximize profitability through their customized, secure payment architecture and dedicated support team. Xsolla, powering game developers to achieve global success.
This podcast is brought to you by AppsFlyer. In today's digital world, understanding your app's journey from discovery to download is more than just insightful, it's essential. Enter AppsFlyer, the leader in mobile attribution and marketing analytics that allows you to measure the full potential of your marketing efforts, making every ad dollar work smarter. With AppsFlyer, that's your new reality. Dive deep into data-driven insights that reveal exactly where your users come from and how they'll interact with your app. AppsFlyer, where your app's potential meets performance. Unity.
Well, like, if any quote that I've ever had in this podcast over the last 6 years is accurate, is the quote in which we lost our favorite Iron Source sponsors is the Unity acquisition of Iron Source is two drunks holding each other up, right? And this is exactly what is unfolding before us time and time and time and again. And when you think that there's like hope on the horizon, it is completely shattered, right? By what the fuck is going on at this goddamn company. You know what I'm saying? Like, again, Unity it reports another round of layoffs. You know, they lost tons of jobs last year, and now they're actually doing a whole other layoff this time, right? The team behind Visual Tool Behavior has basically been cut with all their designers and artists. They're consolidating the technical teams around the engine, which is a big deal across the company. And I think the most thing that's scary as fuck, because the only thing that can help actually save this company is their advertising product, is they're consolidating advertising products finally between Level Play, Tapjoy, Unity Ads, and Iron Source. All that stuff is trying to be consolidated. So this is the thing that really scares the shit out of me, is that what about Iron Source? Like, Iron Source was like the brainchild of this company, despite the fact that they canceled us because of something I said in the podcast, which is ridiculous. Just to be clear, that's my take. It looks like Nadav Ashkenazi, whatever, I don't know his last name, he's
Ashkenazi.
out. Right? So basically all the founders of Iron Source are gone. I don't even know who's left managing this fucking company in Tel Aviv, right? But the scariest thing, and the thing that actually gave me some hope that there was something to hang on to for this company, is that Jim Payne, the guy who built Max for AppLovin, the guy who's the chief architect of MoPub back in the day, this guy was like drop shipped in last August to help rebuild their tools and technology for ad tech. He is no longer VP of product, right? He's just an advisor. If you looked on his LinkedIn profile, it's not even on there, right? Like, Unity's not even on there. So this is fucking scary, right? So Bromberg evidently could not keep this guy happy, right? Now, I thought this guy was the one that was going to fix their shit, but evidently their data is fucking terrible. I imagine Bromberg's like just couldn't deal with this guy, right? And so he probably just said, fuck this. I mean, the guy is fucking loaded, right? Why in the fuck would you take on a job like this to begin with? But he did, right? But Bromberg literally has lost him, but they're not talking about it. And the fact that they're not talking about it makes it even scarier, in my view, right? That should be the first thing, is that he's moving on to an advisor role and they have new leadership that's taking control of this tech. And if they do not get this thing fixed, this company is fucking doomed. Just doomed. It's over, right? And so this is what scares me the most about this whole thing, is that they cannot catch a break, right? And meanwhile, AppLovin is absolutely fucking annihilating them. And they are taking the ball and they are running with it, right? It is almost game over for these guys, right? And so I'm hoping, like, down the line, we actually see what the plan is for this thing, right? Because right now there is no plan. Like, if they're talking about, I mean, stuff he should have been doing right when he took over the company last year. But now, like, it's crazy. It's crazy. They're basically, it's almost like they're starting over, right? And that is not a good place to be. So that's kind of my take.
Okay, just stop. Or Mishka's not going to be invited to that next swanky Unity event that he posts all over LinkedIn.
Yeah, I was just having a call yesterday about traveling to Tel Aviv for Unity. I guess the invite is out.
Dear Unity, the thoughts expressed by Kress are his alone, unless I publicly state that I agree with him. So you mentioned Unity, and so actually I wanted to touch on that, because I think yesterday or the last couple of days, they just announced earnings. So they crushed it again. AppLovin's shares soared 30% higher in extended trading on Wednesday. We're recording on Thursday. They topped analyst estimates for Q4 earnings and issued a better than expected current quarter outlook. AppLovin's shares have jumped 17% since the start of the year, as of Wednesday's closed, and soared more than 700% over the last 12 months amid the surging demand for the company's AI-powered advertising system. It is crushing it. So more importantly, I thought this was also interesting, and I wanted to get your take, is, friend of the pod, Neil Long, for mobilegamer.biz. By the way, please subscribe to him. That guy just does God's work in getting us all the news. So AppLovin is selling off its portfolio of 10 game studios for $900 million as it shifts to become a pure ad tech firm. This means Machine Zone, People Fund, Magic Tavern, Lion Studios, Belka, Athena, Clipwire, Levy, ZenLife, and Zero Gravity are all about to have an unannounced new owner. They signed a $900 million deal to divest its entire games business, which includes $500 million in cash and the rest in equity. He expects the deal to close coming quarter. It's time to play. Guess who bought it? All right, my vote, probably Scopely. I'm going to go Scopely.
Well, Scopely's a good guess. That's a good guess.
Adam Telfer is not on the pod, so this is okay for us to guess.
Because it has to be somebody with a lot of money. It has to be somebody who's okay with China, because a lot of these studios are in China or in Cyprus. So, savvy, couldn't care less.
Savvy?
The
Well,
problem is
Scopely
like,
and Savvy are
It's the
different.
same- same.
Right.
well, the fundamental problem is like, what equity are they giving? Right? They don't have any
Yeah.
equity.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, fair.
Oh, that's
All right.
true. That's true.
Okay.
And
all right,
and
fair.
by the way, when I last heard about this portfolio to be on sale, this was at Gamescom, not the last, but the previous one. The price was $2.4 billion. I remember this clearly at an event. So somebody's getting a hefty discount.
How valuations in the mobile market have changed.
Yeah. Fire
2.4 to
sale.
900. I remember it, and I was like, who would buy that? And they were talking about the studios. It was at a Bankers and Met. Anyways.
By the way, if this is Electronic Arts, I will literally
Oh, no. It
eat
can't
shit.
be.
Like,
There's
that-
no way.
No,
that's
no
that's
way.
that's a bad expression. I will blow my brains out if this fucking
No, you
EA
won't.
buys this thing. Like,
It-
if they are that
it-
stupid to buy these assets, then they have screws loose all over the place.
They can't even deal with what they have.
Yeah, exactly. They are fucking it up so bad. I think actually Take-Two Zynga makes some sense here. Like,
How
I
about
don't-
Stillfront?
why not?
2K. Yeah. Front.
Stillfront doesn't have a piss to pot.
Poor Cress needs some coffee this
I'm
morning.
so tired today. You have no idea.
Embracer?
Can we-
Embracer?
Well,
No.
because he doesn't care. His no, Playtika.
No.
Playtika?
Playtika? That makes sense. That makes some sense.
Playtika.
Phil, what do you think?
I mean, did they have to be is it a bundle deal? Can you take a couple?
No, you got to take that.
There is a group out there run by Nicola from the Glue. He did a few SPACs over his life.
He did a phone, right? You remember he did a phone,
Yeah, that team actually could get aggressive. This makes sense, but I don't think they have this kind of cash though.
Could it
But
be private
they
equity?
might.
Could it be
No.
Okay.
No. I don't think.
$500 million in cash is that's a lot.
The equity
What do you
piece
sup-
actually kind of eliminates a lot of potentials.
What do you do with this, Eric? All right, so you buy a bunch of studios. Now what? What's
In
the
China.
game plan?
Yeah.
I mean,
you got to manage all the
I mean,
heads of each of the studios. There's 7 or 8 here.
Yeah, I'm sorry to all the people that work at these companies. They are going to just cut
Yeah.
everything, right? And just to the bare bones of the cash flows of the business, the games that are good, and get rid of the rest, right? So
So you install
this is
senior
like-
management. You cut things down to the bone.
Yeah, you remove overhead, it's going to be cut.
Well, what if Unity buys them?
No.
It's unnecessary.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
it's not what. Yeah. It sounds like they're trying to focus on ads. Well, I guess or do they care about the engine? And if they are imploding the ad group, to your point above, Mr. Kress, is it the engine that they care? But the engine doesn't make any money.
The engine business is a shitty business, just full stop. I don't care what people say. It's not a profitable business. It's fucking garbage, right? It's never been profitable. It may be meagerly profitable now. I doubt it. Really, their only hope for growth is on the ad tech side. So,
Okay. All right.
The reason AppLovin's getting rid of this, they've been talking about this for a while, and they've divested over time, is that the profitability on this game shit is terrible, right?
Yeah.
Their ad tech is fucking minting money, and so it's actually really good for the stock. That's part of the reason probably the stock is up, because their margins are going to improve dramatically without this business dragging them down,
All right, everyone. That wraps it for today. See you all next week.
Sign up to the newsletter.
Later.
Bye.
You did it. You made it to the end of the episode. As a fan of the show, it would help us out if you'd subscribe and leave us a review on the podcast service of your choice. Those stars and likes, while a small action on your part, mean a lot to us and help to grow the show. More importantly, are you a member of the Deconstructor of Fun Slack group? If you have 5 years or more of games industry experience, go to deconstructoroffun.com/Slack and apply to join. Join the games industry best professional community filled with peers always willing to lend a hand, or subscribe to our newsletter to get all the latest insights from the deconstructor of fun content creators. Thanks for listening.